to episode 111 of Did You Bring the Hummus podcast. I'm Kimberly, your host, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast for all things vegan. Episodes post every Monday on your favorite podcast app. Before we get started, I have one very important question for you. Did you bring the hummus? Do you love the podcast? Want to help me keep it going? Visit the Support the Podcast tab on my website to learn more. Join me on alternating Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern for an hour of meditation. Sign-up options include individual sessions, a monthly subscription, or a 10-session package good for 6 months. I have joined forces with Jennifer Shlomovich of The Confident Vegan to bring you the next great thing in morning TV, That Vegan Morning Show, which airs on YouTube every Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern. Join our mailing list and get a free recipe ebook with some of our favorites. 111 is an angel number, and I think you'll agree that today's guests were the perfect two to join me for this episode. Today, I am joined by Sarah and Elyza, the duo behind the Harmony Mountain House, a heart-centered retreat space born from the collision of dreams, intuition, and bold action. Though they'd only known each other for a few months before joining forces, they've since not only built a thriving, healing business, but a powerful sisterhood rooted in trust, transformation, and co-creation. Elyza, the spark, a fiery Aries with deep Scorpio waters, is a catalyst for change, a solo mama, and a space holder who brings fierce devotion to authenticity and presence. Sarah, the visionary, a dreamy Pisces with Virgo grounding, is a quiet manifestor whose gift for nourishing others shines through everything from her cooking to her ability to make magic out of any space. Together, they live what they teach, that healing is nonlinear, intuition is real, and life is meant to be created, not followed. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Elyza. Welcome. I'm so glad you're both here with me tonight.
Hello. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. I know things are a little crazy where you're at right now. So I'm so happy that we're here and connected and being able to be virtually in each other's space. I'd love to start though with your vegan journey. Who wants to go first and share how that happened?
I guess since I am
You go first.
I'm the old vegan, so I actually meant to think about what year it was, but I think it was 2013. I could say it was the year before I turned 25, and I'm about to turn 37 for for time and space. I had been vegetarian for a long time, actually taking it back even further. When I was 16 in high school, my family all went vegetarian for a pretty significant amount of time because my dad had really high blood pressure and was actually suggested by a doctor to go on a vegetarian, mostly vegan diet. And so I was introduced to it, even though I grew up in a very small town, a hunting town, the town where a good portion of the chicken houses that support Purdue Chicken on the Eastern Shore of Maryland are. So I grew up in this lifestyle where I had no concept of any other reality. And then I got to start experimenting with how it felt in my body to be a vegetarian. And I really loved it at that age. And while, going off to college and such, I wasn't able to sustain it fully. From that moment on, I was pescatarian. And so, at a younger age, I was introduced to just really shifting the way the things that I was putting in my body were affecting me. And side by side with that, I was existing in this lifestyle where the person that I dated in high school and my best friend both owned chicken houses. And so I had an awareness of what was happening behind the scenes that a lot of people don't have an awareness to. And so by that age, I was like, I am not comfortable eating chicken anymore. You experience it enough from a place of unawareness, and all of a sudden you start realizing something's off with this. Even though I was born into this life in this area where this is a very normal way of living, it didn't feel normal to me. So I went off to college and was pescatarian, and that quickly shifted again because I was in Arizona and I was like, wait, where are the like fresh fish that I'm eating? They don't exist. They're being flown in. So all of a sudden there was this additional awareness to the environmental aspect where I was living in a desert, but my diet consisted of, fish being the only animal product that I would consume. So I went back to a vegetarian diet for the rest of college. And at that time, I was highly allergic to lactose. So I was taking a super like potent uh, pharmaceutical to be able to be a vegetarian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no awareness at this time. And I always share this because I feel like we have to remember that where people start, like it's hard for someone to wrap their head around a complete lifestyle change overnight. But oftentimes life will invite us in with these little initiations over and over and over again. So each of these was a layer that was being peeled away. So here I was, the January before my 25th year on Earth, and realistically, I was in a pretty low place. I was drinking like 4 cups of coffee a day to work for my corporate job that I was pretty miserable in. And I was one of those people that was like living for the weekend and living for, being able to go to the bar after work. And I wanted to do something in January to just kickstart a feeling better lifestyle. And so I decided to go vegan for a month, right, as a detox.
Mm-hmm.
Parentheses, quotation marks, for those that can't see me. And that changed everything. Like literally overnight. I mean, within 3 weeks of that, all of a sudden I was drinking only 1 cup of coffee a day, and I was having a digestive system that actually worked and functioned fine. And I was feeling so much more energetic, and I lost 15 pounds in that month. And I was like, wow, my body really reacted to this.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, I was like, how can I go back again? Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it was that of like, all of a sudden, when I realized how good I could feel by that shift, I couldn't go back again. And in that time, I was also starting my yoga journey more deeply. So I was learning in the yogic practices about ahimsa and nonviolence and why it was important to consider what you were putting in your body. So all of these things compounded brought me into, what I thought was a temporary month became my lifestyle. And here we are 12 years later, and I truly have never considered shifting this lifestyle. Like even when I got pregnant, which is now almost 4 years ago, my son is almost 3. I kind of had this fear because I know a lot of people that got pregnant and their hormones and their body desired a different lifestyle. And so I kind of went into it like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
and like it was the opposite, where even like the smell of vegan meats and things were too close to the real thing for me to even consider eating. And my diet was really a lot of like smoothies, obviously some carbohydrates, a lot of fruits and a lot of vegetables. And that is what felt best for me. And of course, now I've got this almost 3-year-old who has been mirroring that life. Like that is literally what he eats. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's, even in my womb, he was like, this is what I want. And yeah, so that's basically the story in a short version.
That's wonderful. And when you're saying that you were taking this medication so you could continue being vegetarian, so relatable. I was on like Pepto-Bismol every day almost because it was just like my stomach was ugh, all the time. I was constantly like, got to make sure I know where the nearest bathroom is, constantly embarrassed on dates. It's like, oh my God, I can hear my stomach rumbling and things are not going well. But let me just down some more Pepto, it'll be fine. Not even considering, maybe the cheese, maybe the dairy, this is a problem and you could stop doing this and maybe you'd feel better. And that's exactly what happened to me too. It was just like went vegan, gone.
Yeah. Consider a life without dairy. And of course, 12 years ago, we did not have the options that we have today.
No.
so really going vegan was, a shift of like nutritional yeast was there already amazingly, but I was no longer having, melty pizza.
Mm-hmm.
That so it was like I thought it would be actually a bigger sacrifice than it was, which is probably why I went so long without even thinking about, being.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was 17 years old because I was going on college interviews when I found out I was like allergic to dairy. And it wasn't even a conversation with the doctors, and B, a conversation in my mind that I would give up dairy. It's just like, how do I learn to live with
Yep.
this? Because there's no way that I cannot.
Right.
And I was a girl that would drink a glass of milk with every meal.
Oh, wow.
So that's also interesting too, that my body really started the invitation to a vegan lifestyle way back when, like when I was 16 and 17 years old. It was like, we're going to show you that we don't appreciate this and that it's not
Mm-hmm.
for us. How long is it going to take you to hear? And the answer is almost a decade.
Yep.
So I
Same.
maybe consider not taking that long. But also, I have reverence when people do say, like, oh, I can't imagine giving that up, because I was that person where it wasn't even a consideration until all of a sudden the light bulb went off.
Yep. So, Sarah, how about you? What's your vegan journey?
Well, for some context first, like growing up pretty much from birth until college, I don't even know if I knew what vegan was. Truly, like I didn't grow up in that small of a town, but I just don't think I had any awareness. I'd never known anyone that was vegan. I think the only person I knew growing up that was even vegetarian was a girl that I played volleyball with. Her mom was vegetarian, and I was like, "Whoa, that's interesting." She never came out to dinner with us, and so that's what I and now I understand why, but it really started for me in college. So I first started going to college at Savannah College of Art and Design. So art school. And I very quickly fell into like the art school stereotype. I went like pretty hippie, pretty just like non-traditional, like, and by the time I was in my sophomore year of college, I was calling myself like the art school hippie vegan, and like really just sank into that stereotype. But what it was a very good friend of mine who I was in school with just casually shared with me that she was vegan. And I had no idea. And I was super intrigued. And so I started asking her questions. And I learned that her dad introduced that lifestyle to her, and that it started for her when she was about 7. And I just could not fathom that, because my life looked so different. And we, at that time in life, were going out to like all the cool cafes in the cities and the smoothie bars and stuff. And I loved those places. And we were out to lunch at a cafe one day when I was asking her all of these questions, and I was kind of like drilling her about like, how did you learn about this? Why do you make this choice? How does it feel for you? And she never pushed it on me. I just found myself so intrigued. And so I asked her for some documentaries to watch, and I kept asking her more information. And in that moment, I was actually eating a vegetarian salad of some sort that I had ordered that day. And I started trying to think about the last time that I ate meat, and I couldn't remember. And I was like, oh, interesting. This is the first time I've ever had the awareness that I sometimes eat vegetarian without realizing it. So in that moment, I challenged myself to go 2 weeks without eating meat to see how I would feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like a challenge to be vegan. It was like a vegetarian challenge, because I wanted to see, if I can't even remember the last time I ate meat, then what's 2 weeks without it? So the 2 weeks went by, and it was a piece of cake for me. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm vegetarian now by happenstance. And so I did that for about a year. And again, just like really leaning into this stereotype. And living in Savannah was very interesting, because the whole city is kind of taken over by the art school. many ways. And so it wasn't hard for me because so many people were vegetarian or vegan. There were so many cute little cafes that offered vegan options. There were so many like little grocery stores that I could get vegan and vegetarian food at. Now granted, like I didn't know anything actually about eating like a healthy vegetarian or vegan diet at the time. So I was living off of like Panda Puffs and coconut milk. That was a go-to. I was living off of like super sugary smoothie bowls to the point where like
Cheyenne's diet.
Yeah.
My son.
Yeah. Actually where I was crashing every day and I had no idea why until I realized that I was making these smoothie bowls that had like 100 grams of sugar in them.
Whoa.
Literally like jam-packed with like frozen bananas and frozen strawberries and then topping it with fruit. And I was not feeling good. I was enjoying this lifestyle, but I wasn't feeling good. And then after about 2.5 years in this school, I did transfer. I moved up to Philadelphia. And when I moved up, I was at that point vegan. After about a year of being vegetarian while I was still at SCAD, I think I just had this moment where I was like, how long am I going to keep doing the dairy thing? Shouldn't I just give it up by now? And I did like a super big notable thing, but in the same way that I just went vegetarian overnight, I went vegan overnight. And I just was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done with dairy. So when I moved to Philadelphia, I was fully vegan at the time, and I moved in with random roommates who really loved to cook like bacon at night.
Gross.
Like I would be going to bed and the smell of like bacon grease was coming in. So it was very interesting to go from that sort of environment to like, you know, of an environment where it was so easy to be vegan to that environment. But it still felt very much like where I wanted to be. And so I found like the environmental clubs and other vegans to be around. But at this point in my vegan journey, I still was like super anti substitutes. I was like, I'm not touching vegan cheese. I'm not touching vegan meat, and I'm not touching tofu or tempeh or any of that soy stuff. That's gross. So ate pretty much was vegetables and carbs and processed stuff and sugar. And I honestly just really didn't feel good. Then I met somebody that I started dating who was quite literally the opposite of vegan, like wanted to go out to dinner, get steak. And being like a very malleable person at that time in my life and not feeling good at all in the way that I was eating, just because again, like I was paying no attention to, am I getting enough protein? Am I actually eating healthy foods? Am I actually eating like vegetables and fruits and nourishing my body? I think I was just eating in a very junky way. I was like going to Trader Joe's and getting like chana masala and, you know, frozen pitas and just a lot of like freezer food and not a lot of nourishment. And so I eventually reached this point where I had gone so hardcore with like watching all the documentaries and preaching veganism at people and getting so angry that I was feeling all of this guilt. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This doesn't feel good. And pretty much again, in the same way that I went vegetarian and vegan overnight, I stopped overnight and I started products again. And I started eating dairy again. And because of the people that I was surrounding myself with, and especially my partner at the time, and especially my family, they were so excited to see me eating animal products again. They were so they were like, just do it. This is too complicated. That just became my life again. And before I knew it, I realized like, oh my God, I'm back to eating animal products like every meal of every day. Whereas years prior, I had a moment where I couldn't even remember the last time I ate meat. And now I'm back to this point where it's just become my regular thing. And I put on weight and I wasn't feeling good. And it wasn't the vegan diet that was making me not feel good. I just was not being loving to my body. And basically, to fast forward, when I moved to Baltimore, which is where I met Elyza, I had just started a yoga teacher training. And right before I signed up to start the training, I had noticed that I was not feeling good. And I had noticed that I needed to make a shift in my body. And I just had this little awareness and this ping of, well, maybe you feel heavy because you're eating a lot of meat still. And so what if we cut it out? And then I signed up for this yoga teacher training, and my teachers very strongly suggested, it wasn't a requirement, it was virtual. They couldn't control what you did, but they very strongly suggested cut out meat, eggs, and fish for this entire 4-month training because you want your body and your vessel to be the clearest it possibly can for you to receive this spiritual knowledge and wisdom. And I was like, great, that is exactly the excuse I needed. I already wanted to do this. It was an Ayurvedic training. Mm-hmm. So they suggest cutting out dairy. And so I was still consuming a little bit of dairy, but I think monitoring it. And so just like that, I cut out meat again for the first time at that point in 3 or 4 years of going back to eating meat again. And I felt so good. Immediately, I felt so good. Not only because I wasn't consuming animal products anymore, for the most part, at least not meat, but because I was also pairing it with these spiritual practices and pairing it with some Ayurvedic cooking that I was learning. And so now I not only was not having meat, but I was really nourishing my body with plants. And I started so good. And it was at that time, right at the end of my training, that I met Elyza. And I was already kind of back to fully being vegetarian with occasionally eating dairy. And when we met, and the first time we actually came to what is now the Harmony Mountain House, she cooked for me a dinner. And I just could not believe how good it was, this fully vegan dinner. Spending time with Elyza, the more we were eating vegan together, not because it was a requirement, but just because that was her diet. I already wasn't eating meat, and it wasn't that hard to eat vegan when I was with her. Mm-hmm. And it was around that time that I started having this awareness again of every time I eat dairy, it's just not sitting right with me. Mm-hmm. And it was about 2 months after we moved in, I actually went on a date to an Indian restaurant and got paneer. And oh my goodness, did I feel so sick afterwards. And that was literally the moment that I was like, yeah, I'm officially done with dairy, because I just cannot do the way that this was making my body feel. And that was in, I want to say, October of 2021. Mm-hmm. So it's now been 3.5 years or so that I've been like fully vegan again. And so it's interesting for me that my journey included like this preliminary vegan phase and then kind of like reverting back and then coming back to it, but the second time in so much more of an aligned way. Awareness around what it actually takes to nourish your body, and this understanding that, you know, we will see out in the world people demonizing a vegan diet, you know, left and right for different reasons, or for nutrition, or for the way that it makes your body feel. And my own journey has been such a lesson and a teaching for me, in the sense that it doesn't actually matter what you're eating, animal-based, plant-based, anything in between, that is going to guarantee you feeling good, right? There is like nutrition that has to do with it too. And you can totally eat a vegan diet and be unhealthy and not feel good. It is possible.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Diet. And I truly have never felt more nourished and aligned in my whole life than I have, especially in the last probably 2 years of this lifestyle, of really deepening my awareness of what I'm putting in my body, of making sure I'm fully nourished by the food that I intake, and of really crafting and cultivating really nourishing, like well-rounded whole foods, plant-based meals for our guests and for myself.
Oh, that's really beautiful. And how lucky are your guests that they get to experience that? So you mentioned the Harmony Mountain House and that you have guests. So share the story of how this came to be, what people can expect when they come to see you there, what kind of things that you do. Give us all the good stuff.
Of course, we have to say that we're staring out the window as the sun goes down and we're having this conversation, and there's a family of deer in our yard, and they're just grazing because all of the animals and the beings know that, to the best of our ability, this is such a loving and safe space. And, you know, we're in Northwest New Jersey, so we have all different types of wildlife come through here, and that's such a gift. And yeah, we first found this place when Sarah and I, you know, had this collaborative dream. Like I was sharing with Sarah a little bit about my desire to move out of Baltimore to a place that had a little bit of land. 12 acres was not the intended amount. That's it was a leap of faith for sure. But, I was desiring to get out of the city and have a little bit of land and more space for people to gather together in in small groups, right? Because there's plenty of spaces that exist where large droves of people can gather, and the festival world and everything exists, and things like yoga studios and wellness centers exist, and those are all so incredible. But there was this yearning on my heart, this idea of people being able to just sit around a dinner table together and enjoy a vegan meal, and then be able to go to sleep there at night and be in a space of transformation while also being in a space of connection, being able to witness and be witnessed by other people and feel like they could safely do so, because it's no surprise that the world we're in right now has been completely changed since COVID, right? We went from kind of not thinking twice about the concept of community care and wellness by way of how we are showing up in the world, if how we're feeling, what we're carrying. And then COVID shifted that completely overnight, right? Whether it was intended to be this or not, we were all being invited to be at least 6 feet away from each other, which is outside of the realm of heart connection, right? The heart reaches about 6 feet outside of our body. So all of a sudden, unless we were partnered or had a small pod, we weren't feeling that heart connection more. And I was not partnered. So I was spending all of this time alone in my apartment in Baltimore. And Spirit was really giving me this vision of connection of like groups coming together, but so intentionally that everybody was tended to, right? Thinking about the people in the group that needed the most care and the most, awareness around their wellness. And how can we create these smaller intentional spaces where everybody is taken into consideration? And I was kind of talking about this to Sarah, who at that time was technically a client of mine. And we were just building our relationship. And she was just like,
yeah, you caught me at the right time, because like I said, I had just finished my yoga teacher training, and part of my assignment was to create like 5 and 10-year visions. Like big vision that I had just created was a community center that offered yoga and acupuncture and a community garden. We focused on food justice, and like these are the things that I had started dreaming up. And so when I met Elyza and she was sharing all of this, and I realized she's at a space in time where she has like the resources and the know-how to actually make something like this happen. And I happen to have some financial resource that could help make it happen. And wait, this doesn't have to be my 10-year plan. This could be my now plan. And this now plan, right? And so, yeah, we just so beautifully came together with this co-creative energy and really put it out there to the universe in prayer and just said, what is possible from this? Is this crazy? Are we meant to do this? And the breadcrumbs started showing up, and we kept following them.
Yeah.
And that led us to this space in New Jersey, which we were not looking here, but we're drawn here, and we were drawn back here. And when we came and we saw the potential and the possibility that existed here, it just was remarkable. Elyza's dog, who was actually vegan, he came up with us the first time, and the way that he interacted with this space, really, it was solidifying for us that he knew we lived here at some point and that we were supposed to be here.
Yeah. Which is like always, when I reflect, brings tears to my eyes, because this is the land he took his last breath on. He passed away at 11, but at 6 years old, he was diagnosed with heart disease, level 2 congenital heart failure, and was told that he would need surgery for, heart surgery to give him elongated life. And I was guided to say, like, okay, well, with his age, he's kind of like, you know, middle-aged dude. And what would the benefit of a shift in diet be for someone that was having heart concerns as a human? And could that benefit him? And we put him on a vegan diet at that time. And within a year, every time we would go to the doctor, they would say, we see he's got like a heart murmur from birth, and then he's got level 2 heart disease, but we're not catching the heart murmur and we're not seeing anything. And so while I wish he had 20 more years here with us, I feel like a vegan lifestyle also gave him more time without the need for surgery, because that, you know, wouldn't have been a guarantee anyway. So yeah, he was a big guide for us.
He's a big part of our story and what brought us here. But yeah, we now are 3.5 years into being here on this land and in this space. And we are a space for people to come and offer their truths and be in community and connection together in a sacred way, where we, you know, lead by example in what it looks like to live in reciprocity with the land and with each other. And one of our ways that we know how to do that best is through a vegan plant-based lifestyle. And so the beautiful thing about our space is that, you know, 95% pretty much of the people that have come here don't actually live that lifestyle. And we people that did would, but we love this idea that we have something so special to offer here by way of connection and community, that regardless of lifestyle, people are drawn here. And we have this beautiful gift of being able to share such loving, nourishing food and lifestyle choices with other people. That in the same way that I was so intrigued by my friend and how compassionately she lived, that I just wanted to know more. And that being my gateway into shifting my whole life, we see that happens with our guests too.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say like it's our primary goal here, right? But it gets to be a beautiful benefit of the way that we live and the way that people see us live and what we get to offer the world and the people that come here. And I personally have the privilege of being the primary one in the kitchen and cooking up food and dreaming up menus and pouring love into what I cook. And it's been so incredible to witness the way that it shifts people's lives and that it shifts their experiences. Food made with love. And I believe that because of the fact that the way that we live and the way that we cook is so based in heart-centeredness and reciprocity, that even more love is able to be present in it, because it's just so easy to feel proud and excited by what we offer in that way.
Our goal is not like to take our values and project them onto other people and say like, these have to be your values in the way that you live in the world. But it is something that we ask, that if someone is called to come here, can you have reverence for our values and be open to trying for a weekend and being open to experiencing, whether for, you know, one meal or for a whole weekend of meals or whatever that may look like, that you feel into how a vegan diet feels in your body and how eating a meal filled with love feels for you. And all of the time, I mean, people are like, oh, we need the recipes that you all, you know, and so it's amazing because integration is a huge thing for us here. Even though we are a retreat center, that word doesn't always feel the most resonant with us because we're really about genuine transformation. And a lot of times the concept of a retreat is about like getting away from your life instead of coming more fully into your life. And so, you know, we are always trying on different words of like, we're a gathering space and, you know, all of this. But integration, regardless of the language, is such this huge piece, right? Like we don't want people to just come here and get high for the weekend.
Yeah.
spirituality and connection and community. We want people to come here and experience things that they get to actually take home and take into their lives. So whenever we offer something, we send recipes. We send an email with recipes and playlists and links to some of our favorite vegan brands and herbal brands. And so it's this opportunity for people to say, while I may not completely change my life overnight, right? There's these seeds planted of getting to experience what it's like to take a recipe home to your family that they would have maybe never tried, but because you experienced it yourself and got to feel how nourished you were by it and how delicious eating vegan can be. For a lot of people, we are perhaps their first experience of tying veganism and enjoyment together, right? Because as we know, once you're in the club, you know how amazing and wonderful it is, but there is a lot of judgment toward vegan lifestyle and vegan diet. So we almost get to offer them like a microdose of the experience, and that often can allow for relationship to grow and build with eating more plant-based, trying it out for a couple meals a week, and then maybe for a week or a month. And we definitely have a lot of people who come here who then realize like, oh yeah, dairy does not work for my lifestyle, or these certain things don't work for my lifestyle. And then the shifts get to occur. And again, that's our prayer, is that like people leave here changed for the better. And so when that gets to involve diet and that gets to involve lifestyle of, just even when someone's here and we say, if you have like a spider or an animal that you find in like on the land that you don't want to deal with, like we have buckets that we go and we lovingly, grab them, and we show people like you don't have to be afraid of all of these beings, right? That we've actually built a space on their home. So how can we do everything we can to lovingly, rehome them and give grace to nature when nature shows up, because they before us and they have a lot to teach us. And, instead of acting like we are, that we have ownership over nature, we try our best to step back and let nature show us how we can be in reciprocity with it, how we can become more compassionate ourselves, and where we were conditioned, right? I spent so much of my life so scared of spiders and screaming to my dad, come kill this spider, right? And for me, it was really an initiation when I was vegan and living in Nicaragua, where there were massive spiders everywhere, that I really challenge that fear and learn how to live in reciprocity with them. But this house gets to be that invitation of like, okay, when it's springtime, there is inevitably going to be ants. How can we reroute them? How can we, utilize things like essential oils that aren't going to harm them, but might deter them from wanting to be in our kitchen? And we get to share this with the people who come here as well. Like, I think it really surprises people that it's possible to shift the way that you see the world, because, we weren't born this way. And that's why we love to share the fullness of our story as well, because it makes it possible for everybody to find a way into their journey.
Yeah. One of the most beautiful things that I've noticed about you both when I was there and kind of just in our few interactions is that you both call and consider yourselves co-stewards of the land. I've never heard you say you own the place, like you were just saying, it very much is that you are there to care for what is and to be part of it and to give back as much as the land and the wildlife around you gives you. You're also giving back and caring in every way that you possibly can. And it's just so beautiful. And you can feel it when you're there. This just peace. And like, I just got to come and eat with you both. You guys cooked and we had a wonderful time. My husband joined us, and I didn't even experience this, a gathering or an event at your place. It was just the four of us and your son. And it was just such a beautiful evening of just like peace and conversation and connection. And like to know that there's a space where people seeking that can be, and there isn't cruelty on the plates. And it really is this like true connection to what's around you as well. It's just so gorgeous. And I love it. And I feel so lucky to have met you and to have been there. So thank you for doing all of that and for being co-stewards, not owners, of the Harmony Mountain House.
That it is not lost on us that these words that we use to describe ourselves, and when I say ourselves, I mean like the greater population of owners, or to even the word property, right? We have embedded language into our lives that claims us as some higher, better than thou beings, that almost gives us permission to exterminate or exploit any beings that we see beneath us. And that extends even into humanity, right? We see it all around us. And it has been such an interesting observation and piece of clarity for us, especially in the last 3 years, of just looking at the world as it is and witnessing the ways in which this language is a part of our daily vocabulary without thought. And like, what does that do to what we are willing and how we are willing to show up in the world, even down to our diets? Because if I think that I am more worthy than the spider, then I have no problem killing the spider. If I think that I am more worthy than the cow or the pig, then I have no problem consuming the dead cow or the dead pig. And it's just like, when you think about it that way, and then when you look at the way that we treat each other as humans, even, all it takes is a bettering, right? Or an othering for us to lose our place in reciprocity with the world around us. And everything that we have done here has been to remember our unity, remember our oneness, and remember that we are not living in a hierarchy, and that we are all like really circling up together, which is why circles are so important here. That even when we teach a yoga class, we don't do it where the teacher's at the front of the room and everyone else is behind them. We circle. And when we have our goddess circles, we circle, and every person leads it a different month, because we're not here to say, it's the Sarah and Elyza show, and we're here to teach you what you need to know and give you information you don't have, that you can't access within you. We're simply here to steward the things that we've learned and the things that we know and that we've learned from the land and from each other, and just mirror it back to one another.
And this is a complex part of building community in this world, especially because most of us weren't raised actually like with community in our, remembering it and experiencing it. People come here and say, thanks for having us at your house. And we're like, listen, if we have a house, it would be 1/20th this size. And we would, right? Like this is not like, we didn't get this space for us. We got because we were guided by spirit to cultivate community and reciprocity based land gathering place, whatever it may be. And, the concept of like the new earth, like in a lot of very spiritual communities, it's a confusing thing for me. And it's interesting because it's like, I feel it on my heart, but I don't always resonate when I hear people talking about it outside of me, because it's like, what is this new earth? Where is it? Like, what is it going to take for us to get there? And it's this remembering that when you are privileged enough to be able to, sign your names to a document and have a place that is theoretically yours, even though what does that even mean in this world right now? It means that we are bound to the documents of this land and that we make sure that the mortgage is paid each month. But beyond that, like that's a privilege that we got to do that. And so now what will we do with it? And so all of the actions we take is trying to dream up a different way, right? Like that we can't advertently change the hearts of every single human on this planet at this time. And our activism is not necessarily, especially since I shifted into becoming a mother, like my activism is not necessarily going out to marches and going out to a lot of places where, the people are all in agreement that this isn't okay. So what can we actually do here? We've been given the opportunity to, for this moment, be able to tend to this land, which will then allow us to open up a place to tend to as many hearts as possible that are called here to genuinely be in healing, right? Like this is something that we were talking about earlier, that everybody kind of has a thing. And our thing here really is depth. And it really is transformation. We're not in the shallow end over here. And so that is going to mean that not everybody's ready to step into this place. But being able to be a compassionate, valued place down to what we put on the plate, what we put into our own bodies, the way we treat all of the animals around us. Like when people come here and don't see the correlation between that and the way we treat each other, it's like it's a layer that hasn't been peeled away yet. For me, I've been grateful to be having been peeling these layers away for the better part of my life because of how I grew up and the dissonance that I experienced, and then the awakening and the awareness that I was able to grow into. Now I can't unsee that the way that I nourish myself is also the way that I nourish my relationships, and is also the way that I, nourish my perception of the world. And so having a vegan gathering space doesn't mean that only vegans are welcome here, right? Again, like Sarah said, we hope more people that have similar hearts to ours will start finding this place, because right now the average person that's coming here isn't actually already vegan. But when we experience resistance, when people invite us, like they invite us to change that, like what we are doing as a vegan space is actually not inclusive. Like we really invite that concept of stewardship, right? Being a part of this greater puzzle of, we're not here to say that the way that you live your life is or isn't compassionate. And there are obviously many indigenous communities that integrated in their own intentional ways, animal-based products that I can't actually speak on because I wasn't raised that way, right? I come from a Celtic lineage. So I could probably survive on potatoes for most of my life, but in a cellular remembering. But it's so important for us to look at the way we, are you being intentional with everything you're putting on your plate? And regardless of what you're putting on your plate, can you ask that question? Are you being in reverence? Are you saying thank you to everything that you are ingesting? Are you really conceptualizing what it took for that to get there to that plate? Because that's what we do with the plants before every meal. And I'm sure some people roll their eyes, but we love it. Like we offer our hands towards the food and we say thank you. We say thank you to the farmers and to the land and to the people that drove trucks to bring things like avocados and mangoes to us. We give reverence to everything that it took to be able to bring this nourishment to our plate for us to be able to receive it. And I feel that when we invite that intentionality into life, like it does change things on a cellular level once you have that click. And so we feel so grateful that we get to do that. And it's also like not in this moment the popular work to be doing, right? Like people are not coming in droves here. And in some ways we feel grateful because it allows us to stay so intentional. But also veganism and intentionality scares a lot of people away. Asking harder questions and being able to sit around and we don't shy away from any of the conversations. If somebody is a carnivore diet human and sits at the table with us and wants to have a disagreement, we're so open to bringing forth our hearts and our why, and this consideration of like, what if just for today, we all found the ability to eat the same thing around a table, which is actually going to enhance connection. It is actually going to bring us closer together, right? When we start restricting certain things, it keeps us from being able to sit around and gather and actually commune around a table and eat together. So beyond being a vegan space, we actually ask people what their allergies are and what their dislikes are before they come here for an event. Because if somebody really doesn't like a certain thing, we actually just create a menu that doesn't include it. That way they are still able to sit at the table and enjoy the meal with everyone. And if someone is celiac or that can't have soy, we actually craft an entire menu for the weekend around that. So even if someone is, predominantly carnivore based, but they have certain things they will eat, we're like, challenge accepted. Let's find a way, bring us all together around the table this weekend and let us all experience what it's like to be able to come together, like Sarah said, in unity, which is not something that we know, even though I think it's something that we yearn for. And where the world is hoping to go, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And you said something earlier, it's so important about this planting of seeds. So often people think that vegans are just like, do it now, or, whatever. I don't know. Like, we're just always just pushing. You've got to go vegan immediately. You found this out, got to make the change. And I think so many more of us are like, hey, you want to see what I'm doing? Want to see how my life is going, how I live it, what I'm eating? You want to eat with me? Like, let's have a moment. And even if we don't talk about it, just by showing up as vegans and doing the vegan things, people notice. And when they come to your center, your home, or retreat, and they eat with you, and they go, oh, that was really good. I never could have thought that vegan food could actually taste good. And then they take the recipe home and they go, hey, family, I had this weekend. Do you want to try it? It was really good. So now, like, their family trusts them because they all eat the same thing and they're saying that it's good. So let's try it. And now maybe there's like 3 more people that are like, oh, that was really good. And I think that that's amazing. I'm going to try this and I'm going to tell my friends about it. And each meal and each conversation, just like we're reaching so many people and helping to change people's lives, whether we know it or not, whether they want it to or not. Because so many people, right, who go vegan will say, I never thought I'd be vegan. Even once they knew what it was, I'd never do that. And then here they are, however much time later, going, it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. So it's just really special that we create these spaces to introduce things to people. And it doesn't mean that we're saying like, hey, go vegan right now. We just want them to experience a little bit of the beauty that we know that life is.
There's anything I've learned in my own journey, it's that you cannot force something on somebody who's not ready.
Yeah.
Right. I tried that. I tried how could you not know? How could you not realize? How could you not feel it? You've got to pay attention. And my mom very sweetly sat me down and said, you're really annoying people with this. Not like, it's actually making us less interested. And so my second time around, I really shifted and I was like, okay, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to let people witness how much my life has changed and get curious about it. And now, like, my dad, who is the most anti-vegan person I have ever met, texts me every now and then and goes, I tried a vegan dessert at dinner tonight.
Wow.
Agree to try one vegan thing at your house when we come visit. Yeah. And my mom will happily try any vegan restaurant with me or have a meal in our space, as will my Nana. And even my brother went vegan for a whole month. And so it's just like, I did not force those things upon them at this time in my life. And it feels more approachable and it feels more desirable because I'm not trying to shove it down their throat. And as we know, as humans, like when you try to shove something down somebody's throat who's not ready for it, they're really just gonna double down on their own opinion stance. And so just to be loving and inviting and show possibility is really where it's at. And that's what we love being able to do and offer here.
And our families are both great reflections of, you know, they've both been willing in these recent years to take a, you know, recipe that normally was not vegan at all and just veganize it. And the whole family enjoys it, right? Like even though
my mom made vegan cookies, and when we got to family vacation, they were all gone because everyone thought they were better apparently than the year before. You know, so my mom's like, from now on, anything I bake, it's gonna be vegan because this way you all can eat it too. And just those of kindness and also exposure to the family has just been really cool.
And just reminding people that like these little shifts are likely not going to take anything away from their life, but might actually bring more spaciousness, wellness, and energy into their lives, you know? So it's really cool to just get to be in that exploration. And the biggest thing with our space that you just reflected in that too is that, you know, we are here living this life 24/7. Nothing is behind closed doors, which means we have hard moments, hard days, hard conversations. We have, you know, questions and challenges with our integrity and our values. And every day we are invited to be able to double down and say, this is my truth, right? The way that someone might say that about something that they don't know any better with. I feel like this life has invited us to really look at the underbelly of this existence and say, if we're going to hold this space for other people, if we're going to genuinely invite people into this place that is the place we live 24/7, we're not putting on a fake face when we come to see people, right? Like when we talk about all of it and we love having all of those conversations, which allows for people to get more curious instead of be like, you know, like to feel like we're unapproachable, hopefully, you know, hope that people that come here will always feel like they can come to us if they do want to make lifestyle shifts, and that we'll be their cheerleaders. And that also, this is a place you can come even if you don't think you'll ever consider that for once, and still find your place in this community of being able to sit around the table with people who do hold that value near to their heart and not feel like we are in conflict with each other, because at the base of humanity is love. And we are all on this journey of remembering together. And I feel like veganism has gotten to be this incredible part of my remembering journey. It has softened me in ways that the prior versions of me could not have imagined. And at the same time, like the desire for it to be approachable means that in this moment, we don't lead our marketing and things like that with like New Jersey's only vegan retreat center, right? Even though we thought that before. When we first started, we were really going heavy with like the vegan on and in everything. And we were not appealing to the vegan crowd for whatever reason. And so that's when we decided to make the shift to like, we are a vegan space, we are plant-based, we are a compassionate lifestyle community. And that will be experienced in the way we act over the way we scream it out to others and the way we promote.
So as a vegan business, we were chatting before we hit record, right? About how there are vegan businesses that are closing left and right. And then there are vegan businesses that are shifting away from what we understand their values to be and starting to incorporate items that disappoint us as vegans, make us feel like we've been, I don't know, betrayed maybe even. But it's, as a vegan business owner, what is your feeling around that? Like, what's your take on kind of how do we keep vegan businesses going? And What do you think about these vegan businesses that are pivoting away from what is truly in alignment with their values in order to stay open?
To answer your second question, I feel compassion for them because we know ourselves personally how few vegans have come to support our space. And if that happened to be the only clientele we had, we would have closed our doors 2 years ago, to be honest. And, you know, what we have going for us is the fact that what you experience here extends so far beyond just food, that it isn't the main thing that people come here for, even though it is actually a big thing that people come here for after they've experienced it. And so we feel grateful that somebody, without even consideration for what food they're going to be served, will find us and want to come here simply for the other experiences they're coming to receive. And, you know, it is tough out here. Like, every time we find a restaurant that is, you know, a restaurant that serves animal products, but oh, they've got great vegan options for us. If we didn't know anything about their history, that's just a bonus. That's one restaurant that we had the opportunity to go and have a vegan meal at. Whereas if that didn't exist at all, we might have no options available for us to eat out if we're looking to eat out. And that being said, there are so few fully vegan businesses and restaurants that exist in our area. We're on the side of New Jersey, closer to PA. And even just in our town alone, there's been 2 or 3 vegan restaurants that were here when we moved that were incredible that shut down. And it's been heartbreaking. And so there is so much value in a fully vegan business, knowing that I can step into this place and I don't have to question if the aioli on this sandwich is vegan. I know it is.
Yeah.
I don't question if the cheese is vegan or not. I know it is. And I don't have to order something without the part that makes it so good, because it's not to make it vegan, right?
Yeah.
There is much excitement about that. And that's the thing we love offering in our space, is that you can step into our space as a vegan and know that there is not a single snack, beverage, dessert, whatever that is not vegan. And that is a luxury that we don't get a lot out in the world. And it does feel heartbreaking that we are living in this time where so many people are faced with this question of, do I challenge my value system to stay open for the people that I always intended to serve and others, or do I close? And that's a hard question to have to ask, because nobody starts a business, let alone a vegan business, for any reason other than it is their heart's passion. You know? And so I have compassion for those met with that choice again and again, even though I don't necessarily agree with it or think that we would ever make that choice ourselves. I do have compassion for it.
And I think, as, you know, heart-centered beings, the thing that we get curious about a lot is why some members of the vegan community would rather have a business go under than find a way to make it work, right? Because it is our duty as those of us that are still here. And, you know, obviously, from my perspective, it seems as if those that were in my vegan community, that number has been waning in recent years. And I don't know if it's a universal thing or if it's just that my community has ebbed and flowed, right? For me, I've been vegan for 12 years now. So for those that have come and gone, I've had people come and go for quite, you know, some time within that. However, I know our hearts, and I know that if we ever had to make that hard call, we would hope that the vegan community would support us regardless, because we know the non-vegan community would support us regardless. And that potentially we would, like, if we had 2 years ago when things were hard, said, let's shift our values and start offering animal products, you know, in ways that limited our discomfort in it, that we might be in a much different financial place right now, because we have had the privilege and challenge of having to say no to quite a few people that have wanted to lead and facilitate retreats and events here, or come and bring their family here and not use animal products. We had to cancel an Airbnb right before, because they literally messaged us. We send, even our Airbnb is vegan and plant-based, right? So it's like, we send an email out, and it's in our listing, but we send a message out when someone is coming, and we say a loving reminder that there's no animal products here, and that our grill is vegan, and that everything, like there's no animal products to be cooked or utilized here. And of course, we don't go and we don't walk in and check their fridge while they're staying there, but we trust that that boundary is enough to, make a change in people's lives. And we've had people respond by saying, I really love creamer in my morning coffee. Do you have a vegan creamer that you would suggest for me? And then we're able to introduce that. We also provide a lot of really cool vegan snacks and drinks and breakfast things. And we put some frozen meals in the freezer so that when people come, it's an Airbnb, that they're not like, that they don't feel like they can't eat anything. They're like, oh, look at all of these things I can try. But we've had people also say, please cancel my reservation and give me the refund, because how will I survive? Like specifically this one people, it was for 4th of July. How will we celebrate the 4th of July without meat? Like that was,
oh my goodness.
all of that being said, we of course gave them their refund, and I don't know if we rebooked that or not. I can't recall, but it's like we're always compassionate about people who feel a lot of contrast when they experience that we are a vegan space, and we hold the boundary lovingly. And we hope that that invites more people into feeling more compassionate for all people too, right? Like for us, we try our best to withhold judgment from anyone's lifestyle. And we understand that that is like not how everyone feels, because there are people that literally were put here on this planet to like fight for animal rights that we are so grateful for, and create and cultivate conversations and documentaries that we fully agree with and resonate with. But that's not necessarily that's not how we came here to offer our activism, right? Mm-hmm. And so where some people get angry, I feel like we really try to soften. We try to open our hearts and understand from a greater place. And that's what happens with us when we experience vegan businesses that are met with the concept of either going under, right? Which means one less heart-centered business on this planet, versus shifting some of their values. And again, we could have done that multiple times now, and it's just not been in alignment with us, gratefully. Like we are very much committed that while the space is here and while we get to steward it, that these values that exist in our hearts are going to be what we steward it with. And we're not going to make those, shifts in our values to bring in more resources. But that being said, we need our vegan community to like rally behind us and behind every vegan business that's out there and holding their values with their hearts, because it seems that this may not be the most popular time on this planet to be a vegan business, right? Like there was a huge influx of vegan businesses in the past decade, and we have all benefited greatly from that. And again, for me, like I think only 2 of the restaurants that I was a baby vegan going to more still exist. And that's hard, right? And like are many businesses in Baltimore that are omnivore businesses that have, a mix of all things that we love going to when we get to visit. But a few of my vegan OGs, like they're not there anymore because there wasn't enough support. Maybe I was single-handedly supporting them up until I left Baltimore to come here, right? But no one should have a few core people single-handedly supporting them. We always talk about this concept of like everybody giving a little bit when they can is how genuine community exists. That's how we really support, right? Nobody is expecting you to go and spend your, the last bits of your paycheck on the same, restaurants every week. But if we have a couple thousand followers on social media, and we're like, if every one of them gave us $20, like we'd be able to run our business for the year, right? Mm-hmm. And be too much out from anybody. And so when we think about it that way, right, that there are still a lot of us, and that while not all of us are screaming it from the rooftops, that there are so many incredible vegan businesses in the New Jersey area, and then, you know, far out all over the world. When we can show up whenever we can, especially when our hearts are being called to it, whether that's to a delicious meal or to a transformative experience, or like, you know, for us, we host, if you wanted to have like a bachelorette weekend here, if you want to have a baby moon here, if you want to have a wedding anniversary here, if you want to have a birthday here, we cultivate completely unique experiences for every single person that wants to come here, which includes an incredible vegan menu, which includes beautiful experiences that vary from things that we offer: yoga, meditation, sound, cacao circles, to bringing in members of our community that are also incredible heart-centered people. And you just get to come here and receive and be a part of something beautiful while also supporting the economy of veganism, right? So to us, it's a win-win. And we know that the right people always find us in the perfect timing. But it's definitely something on our hearts to remind people like that. If you see something and you're like, hey, I'm going to go there someday, but not right now, that if they're a vegan business, like, lovingly, there is not a guarantee that they're even going to be there next month, let alone in 6 months, let alone in 6 years. And hopefully, you know, they are and we are, but to put it off for some future date, if, you know, most vegan businesses are running like we are, which is just getting by, but being so committed to what we are doing here that we will freaking find a way to stay open till next month and next month as long as we can.
Yeah. So if you're vegan, which you probably are, if you're listening, substitutes, right? We all had a time in our life, unless you were born and raised vegan, where at some point you had to substitute one thing for another. And the same can be true in our lifestyles. The next time you find yourself wanting to go on a staycation and you're looking at Airbnbs or hotels, what if you found a vegan ran Airbnb instead, right? AKA the Harmony Mountain House. Next time you want to go out to dinner for your birthday, right? You can go and support a business that has both, you know, animal-based and plant-based options, but can you support a fully vegan restaurant instead? Can you find a vegan baker to make your birthday cake for you? Can you find a vegan venue to have your wedding at? Can you find a vegan caterer to cater that wedding, right? There are substitutes and ways that we can look for these options that support fully vegan businesses. And also, like, a loving request, that word of mouth goes such a long way, right? We are in so many different vegan Facebook groups, and we have received, you know, many recommendations from, like, you know, the one vegan person that came and stayed in the Airbnb that then was able to recommend us to others. And that's how somebody found out about us, because they didn't know about us before. Yeah. And so leveraging word of mouth marketing to also support your vegan businesses that you are aware of, because if you search vegan on Airbnb, we're not going to come up. It's not listed that way. But if you went on the vegan Facebook group and asked for a vegan Airbnb, it's likely that someone that has stayed here that knows about us will then be able to recommend us. And so continuing to market those vegan businesses via word of mouth so that people know where they can go, instead of just thinking, I'm going to find the nearest Hilton to stay at and I'm going to find food elsewhere or bring my own food. Perhaps I'm going to find a fully vegan Airbnb that will be a better fit for me and my family instead.
Yeah, because we exist, right? And if we exist here in central New Jersey, then this reminder that, like, you know, there are other places and people who exist that we've probably never even gotten to hear of and hear from. And that's the other thing. Like, we love getting to uplift all of our, you know, local vegan, you know, businesses. We're so lucky to be less than 30 minutes from vegan treats here. So it's like, that's always like a vegan destination. And we're like, listen, if you live far away and you want to go there, come and stay in our Airbnb after and, you know, bring some treats to us. And that, you know, that'll be perfect. But it's totally possible that there's a lot of places that are flying under the radar because we are literally spending all of our time staying open and not spending all of our time marketing out, right? So that's why we're also so grateful for you that you came and visited and that you've invited us to, share a little bit about ourselves on your beautiful platform, because we love having these conversations and we love our vegans, like, right? We would love to host more vegan centric experiences here. And every time we get to, we feel like we're hitting, like, that we've won the lottery. So
I could talk to you gals all night. But I don't know how I'd break up a 4-hour podcast, to be honest. So I've got, what's that?
it can be, we can have a part.
Yes, exactly. You'll have to come back for sure. I've got one more question for you. How does hummus show up in your life?
Oh, we love hummus. Actually, I will say my first iteration of being vegan, one of my biggest guilty pleasures was homemade garlic hummus, and I would dip Triscuits in it. I would get the vegan Triscuits and just house an entire of homemade hummus. And that's my favorite way to consume it. And full transparency, we're on a juice cleanse right now. I'm not eating solid foods. I cannot wait to make hummus and have it.
But I will say that probably our most popular dish that utilizes hummus is Sarah is an incredible sourdough chef. She makes amazing focaccia and sourdough and bread. Oh my gosh, so good. And one of our brunch options is we kind of make luge toasts. And my favorite and many guests' favorites is we do a French onion hummus. We top it with caramelized onions, and that's a savory breakfast toast, and it is so delicious. Yeah, my mouth is watering now.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, and we also utilize, chickpeas hummus as a base in a lot of our bowls. We love making seasonal bowls where we're bringing in all of the local veggies, and so that's another way that it shows up often in our lives. I mean, all the ways, pretty much. It's a staple in any vegan household, right? Let alone vegan retreat center. We keep the little Costco, containers of it in our Airbnb and community fridge, because that's a quick, grab that people can have and eat. And of course, my almost 3-year-old loves that too. Dip is one of the few things that he actually really enjoys. So get him to eat hummus pretty regularly.
Awesome. So he's getting a little bit of nutrients no matter what, right?
Every day. I mean, we have these amazing vitamins that not sponsored by them at all. You can probably cut this part out, but also whatever. We give him vitamins every day. So we're listen, if you eat acai bowls and hummus all the time, and then you get this vitamin pack, then it's a phase. And we are certain that he is going to come back around and start enjoying eating all of the vegetables that we grow here and such. But 3-year-olds are surviving on air and sugar.
Yeah. Somehow they manage. Sarah Elyza, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for joining me tonight. I have loved this conversation. I wish I could hug you both right now.
So much.
Giving you a big energetic hug and just sending so much love out to whoever hears this in the ethers. We always send up this prayer of may this serve for the highest good of the world. And that's, what we are offering here with the Harmony Mountain House. And that is our prayer with this conversation. And I know that your podcast reaches exactly who it's meant to. So sending extra love into the ethers, and big hugs to you and to anyone who ends up feeling the call to come and visit us here. We'll give some in-person hugs once that's the case.
We're ready for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome back. Are you ready to log on to the Harmony Mountain House website and book some time there? Great. Me too. For more information on the Harmony Mountain House, visit the website theharmonymountainhouse.com. Find the Harmony Mountain House on Instagram and Facebook at the Harmony Mountain House. To connect with Elyza and read all about her services, which will also be detailed for both her and Sarah in the show notes, you can follow her at Elyza in Harmony on Instagram. And for Sarah, you can follow her on Instagram at The Wandering Worth. These will be linked in the show notes. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring. Please subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're loving it, please give Did You Bring the Hummus a 5-star rating and leave a review. It's an easy way to keep supporting the show. Be sure to share these episodes with your friends. If you're finding something good here, they will too. If you're a vegan or know a vegan who would be a great fit for the podcast, follow the Be a Guest link in the show notes. Fill out the quiz and I'll be in touch. Get on my mailing list and stay up to date on all things Did You Bring the Hummus? Get more info on how you can sign up for a meditation, one of my programs, or to support the podcast via the links in the show notes. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Did You Bring the Hummus, and visit my website, didyouBringTheHummus.com, for more information about me, updates on what I'm working on, new podcast episodes, and all things vegan. Finally, I would love to hear from you. What do you need help with? Is there a topic you want to hear covered on a future episode? DM me on Instagram or send me an email at info@didyouBringTheHummus.com. Thanks for listening.